Hi, this is Jeff Kober, and we welcome you to Disney Insights. Well, several weeks ago, D23 put out their agenda for their upcoming Walt Disney World event being held the last week of August. Surprising to so many was the fact that there were no parks panel. In the interim, Walt Disney World came forward with a press event a few days ago, giving insight and updates on a large number of attractions and offerings coming to the most magical place on Earth. We'll dissect all of these announcements, and they are really fun announcements. And then look ahead at the D23 agenda to see if there isn't something a little bit more happening far beyond what was already announced. With this comes an overview of what Beak and Barrel looks like, which just opened last weekend as well. So if you love all things Walt Disney World, this is a very interesting moment in time. Join us as we look at these Florida announcements and wild predictions of announcements that could be coming from the upcoming D23 event. This podcast is produced by myself and Performance Journeys, which offers training, development, and consultant support to organizations big and small, to entrepreneurs new and established. With a wide variety of resources and long-time in-the-trench experience, we offer workshops and online learning, coaching, and so much more to organizations that want to build their teams, raise organizational excellence, improve leadership, and create customer loyalty. So check us out at performancejourneys.com. And please support us by not only subscribing to this podcast, but offering up a rating, review, or referral to others. Be sure you check out DisneyInsights.com, where we offer key points, photos, videos, links, and more that are associated with this podcast. And note that YouTube now carries our podcasts as well. So please subscribe to our Disney Insights YouTube page, as it will become more of a part of our social media strategy moving forward. We welcome any positive thoughts and comments on our YouTube podcast as well, and we'll read those comments on the air. Well, let's begin with a play and preview event that occurred at Walt Disney World, where the portfolio executive creative producer, Michael Hutchin, presented and reminded everyone of what was going on throughout Walt Disney World. Of course, there's been a lot of new things, the new 3.0 test track and Disney Starlight Parade and so forth, but there's also a lot of things happening in the next months to come. The first thing that was talked about was Zootopia, or better known now as the Better Zoo-Gether show that is happening at Disney's Animal Kingdom in the Tree of Life theater. This is the replacement to its Tough to Be a Bug. They talked a little bit about the message being focused on how we are all connected together, i.e. Better Zoo-Gether. The story takes place on what is known as Zoo-Gether Today. It's kind of a Earth Day at Zootopia, where Earth Day meets New Year's Eve kind of thing. All of it is intended to really tie to the Tree of Life and the purpose and the importance of everyone and the kind of the circle of life kind of thing. It is a 9-minute attraction. It is 3D. There are glasses that are going to be handed out, and they're going to be referred to as Carrot Vision. They come from the Hops family farm. If you're familiar with Zootopia, if you haven't seen Zootopia, you need to see it. It's just simply a great show, and will give you a sense of what is coming here. There was a stink smell in the old show. They've told us there's a new scent, but it isn't a stink smell. The show is one of the show hosts is Heidi Howler. This is a new character. It's kind of a fox wolf, I guess. And it sounds like she's greeting guests in the queue with maybe different posters showing. Remember how there were different Broadway posters like Beauty and the Beast and that type of thing, Web Side Story. I think there are other posters now being shown in the queue that kind of reminds you of the different zones of Zootopia. And then I think Heidi Howler kind of starts it all off. And then there's also Benjamin Klauhauser, which I think acts as a DJ of some sort. I think he's occupying as an animatronic the space that the nemesis of Tough to Be a Bug had taken up in that space. Any rate, during the show, you're going to visit places like Tundra Town, where you're going to see an ice ballet. You're going to go to Marsh Market, where you're going to see the Marsh Maids perform. You're going to see Little Rodentia with the Shrew Angels. They're kind of flying around in drones, kind of these little rodents flying around in drones. And then you end up in Sahara Square, where you see Gazelle from the movie, who is singing Try Everything. There is also another new song, or new song for the show called Zoonited, that is going to be part of the finale of the show. And then beyond the theater itself, there's going to be a new meet and greet spot, which is kind of themed out to be sort of a tailgate party. It's going to include new costumes. Nick is wearing a tie that Judy gives him at the end of the first film. Both of them will be making appearances. All of this is going to open on November 7th, 2025. That is the next event and is the next thing announced. In fact, the only date really announced out of everything that was discussed in this presentation. And it's coinciding with the film that is coming out this fall, Zootopia 2. Which, if you haven't seen the preview for that, is quite humorous and fun. And I think it's going to be a great movie as well. And I think this is going to be a great addition. I just love the fact that this is going to be a much more, I don't want to say kid-friendly, certainly family-friendly show, in that before you had this whole thing with people being buzzed and on their backs, which they said is not going to occur anymore. And, people scared with the spiders coming down and so forth. So I think this is going to be a lot friendlier. And I think that's appropriate for kind of setting the stage for being at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The next thing that they talked about was Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin. We've already announced that this is going to happen. They talked a little more about the role of Buddy the robot. I think he's not only the first part of the attraction as you board your new vehicles, but that he's going to give you direction and ideas about mission tips, kind of, and help you test out your blasters and so forth. So I think he plays a more continual role throughout the attraction. There are all new vehicles being added to Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin. Way overdue. Those older ones were really taking a beating. Even going back to, I think, if you had Wings, I think those were the same vehicles that had been going on for so many years. The blasters themselves are going to, of course, come out of the vehicle. They won't be attached to the vehicle like they were before. They're going to be two different lights that are hitting people based on where you sit. So you know whether you're hitting it or your partner next to you is hitting something. There's new sounds and feels that go with the blasters, and then the targets will get a glow up as you go through it. So it is very much the same path and the same look and feel overall, but there are some really key things that were needed for Buzz Lightyear because it really had gone through other versions in Disneyland, in Disneyland Paris, at one point Tokyo Disney, although that is being removed for something else, and still in Shanghai Disney, it was part of that opening when the park opened there. So it's really good that they're doing some kind of upgrade here. Equally, an upgrade to a legendary attraction is what's going on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. They've been switching out all the tracks all year, and there's been a lot of work on that. But they have told us, and we always thought that there would probably be something more in the finale scene as you go up that last lift, because, well, we see something happening very similar to that in the finale scene of Big Thunder Railroad at Disneyland. What they haven't talked or haven't disclosed what happens in that finale scene, but what they have done is they've shared with us that the opening scene, remember, you take off and you kind of go to a minor cave, and there's a bunch of leftover minor equipment and so forth, and then you kind of went into the cavern where there were some hanging bats. They said that there are now hundreds of bats staring at you. I think they've redone the bats in a different way than just hanging them on a string. And you come into Rainbow Caverns. Rainbow Caverns, we talked a little bit about. That's a title to a section of stalactites and so forth, and pools of water that were seen in the original Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland at Disneyland many, many years ago, and it was called Rainbow Caverns. You're going to come into Rainbow Caverns here, and it's going to be far more colorful and far more detailed, and you're going to see the beauty of nature, but all that's going to change with the crack of thunder, which is going to take over the caverns and turn the whole thing into a very eerie red tone before sending you out on your ride. They are playing up the story of Barnabas T. Bullion, who is the owner of the mine, and he rules with the golden fist as the mountain kind of pushes back, and this is that tension, and you're caught in between that tension. So unexplained things are happening as they're trying to extract the gold from the mountain, and you are trapped as you ride through on the mine train. Now, what was a little disappointing is not just the fact that they haven't told us what the concluding scene is, but they are going to share that at a later date. Also not shared is that while the attraction is opening next year, which I kind of hope that maybe it would be toward the end of this year, it is still opening next year, and they have not given us a date for the opening of that attraction. So more to come on this and more to be excited about as we go through. But right now, the only thing they've given us a date for is that Zootopia show, which happens before the end of the year. Everything else is part of next year. Then we're taken to a review or a re-announcement of this Magic of Disney animation. I get more excited about this every time I hear more about it. It is inspired by the short Once Upon a Studio. If you haven't seen that short, it was released for the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company. It was the best thing of the 100th anniversary. And you have to go see it on Disney Plus. It's only 7 or 8 minutes. It's adorable, and the idea is that you're going to, if you remember, when you enter the animation studios, there's an initial theater. I think you're going to go through a similar kind of short, but they said that it has a new twist to it at the end, and then you're released into the rest of the interior of the animation studios. Again, the animation studios are going to be recreated to look like the Roy E. Disney Animation Studios in Burbank with the big sorcerer hat. That will be the icon at the end, leading you into this building. But I think it's going to be really interesting. There's a couple of things happening. If you remember, in the original Disney Magic of Animation show, there was a big portion where you looked over a long series of windows overlooking work that was being done on animation. That was taken out not long, late early 2000s. And in it, when you exited the room where you had the first show, you then came to a wall that the glass changed from a smoked glass to a clear view of the new studios that they had built back there. Now, the animation studios the animators have long left those studios, and that building is now occupied by different activities within Walt Disney World. But a couple of people were sent by Disney to kind of tour that building and to take a look at all the artwork. It is a gorgeous building. I've been through the building several times. There is just these beautiful pieces of artwork and so forth. And in the animation tour, you could actually, the smoke glass cleared and you could see into this kind of interior lobby of the animation building. It seems to me that there was a Dumbo, flying Dumbo elephant that was kind of sitting there. But there were a number of things. My guess is they're going to use the advantage of that glass and that space to actually animate things that look like they're happening within the animation building. And I think that's going to kind of, again, build on the whole Once Upon a Studio thing, where the whole building comes to life, photos and frames and everything comes to life. Then as you go further down, you get to a space called Drawn to Wonderland. And that has in the last number of years has been largely used up by queues to two meet and greet areas, largely Darth Vader and I can't remember the other character from Star Wars. It's gonna come to me, but at any rate, this whole section is going to be taken up to a space called Drawn to Wonderland, and it's going to be themed to Tulgey Wood. It's going to have the Mad Hatter tea party table. It's going to have oversized flowers, and it's going to be inspired by Mary Blair's original renderings, and it's going to be a play area for guests to go to. And it's so thrilling to think that there's going to be an indoor play area, especially for smaller children and so forth. Then they're going to take the second theater and probably still use it to allow you to practice drawing Disney characters and so forth. And then outside, and hopefully they're going to take the guest shop and reopen it and have really some good customized Disney art in that space. Then the animation courtyard outside is going to be transformed to align with the original Burbank studio. That means that a new studio sign, similar to the Burbank studio, a more modest sign, unfortunately, will be added. And the original Disney MGM Studios archway is going to be removed. This will, however, tend to open up the courtyard more to people visiting. And in fact, they're going to add a lot more green space to that courtyard. So it feels more, again, like the studios. They'll add landscaping along the exit to the Little Mermaid show. So again, it has more of a park-like feeling like the Walt Disney Studios. And the same thing over where the Disney Junior show is. However, they have announced that there is a new Disney Junior show. They haven't mentioned Bluey in this case, but that is expected that will probably be a part of that new Disney Junior show. Really needed to have something new in that space, but it could make the whole plaza area really feel like the Disney Studios, and I'm very excited of what that looks like. Now, of great interest is that they did a attraction poster, which reflected actually many of the films that were created at the Disney MGM Animation Studios at that time during those years, such as Hercules and Mulan, Tarzan. But a new version of this poster has now added Robin Williams. And if you'll recall, he was the original host of the film, the original film in that space. And he became one of the Lost Boys of Neverland. And so you see, and you can see this on DisneyInsights.com. He is right up there at the top, across from Tinkerbell, and it says the magic of Disney animation, and it's very cool. I would love to see how they might add a little bit more of him into that experience, because he really made that animation tour so clever, so cool, so fun. I'd like to see what could be done there. Any rate, all of that is stuff that's coming to the magic of Disney animation, and I'm really excited for that entire plaza area. Smuggler's Run was also discussed. This has been previously announced. It is being tied to the new Mandalorian movie coming out on May 22nd. This is a much more interactive simulation experience with higher end graphics than before. The coolest part is that the engineer, the worst position of all in the entire ship, the engineer position gets to communicate with Grogu during the activity, and most importantly, gets to pick the location where you could go, which could include a visit to the Cloud City of Bespin. Remember, that was featured in the second Star Wars film, The Empire Strikes Back. Or you could go out to see the wreckage of the Death Star, see what's going on over there, or you could fly over the city of Coruscant. So just the fact that you get to go to all these different spaces and places, it's going to be so much fun. And yes, I'm going to want to be the engineer because I get to choose. I love that idea. And I think there's going to be a lot of excitement for that. I could see more things to come for Galaxy's Edge out there, more character meets and so forth, but no announcements have been yet made on that. Then they turned their attention over to Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. Here, they talked about how, actually in the presentation, they had Kermit and the gang visit to share what was happening with this new attraction. They have given it a title. It's called Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. The giant guitar, which is out in front of that space, is going to be given a vibrant psychedelic look to it, one that kind of glows more at night in the evening. And then if you recall, it sits on a bed of piano keys, and there's a nod to Dr. Teeth's golden tooth on the piano sitting at the base of the guitar. When you go in, Electric Mayhem is in the recording studio instead of Aerosmith. They have some of the Penguin animatronics playing as kind of audio engineers. And Kermit and Miss Piggy kind of play a cameo role via video to what's going on inside the studio. But the key animatronic here seems to be Scooter. Scooter is kind of a center point of this whole attraction. Scooter is going to be an animatronic in the pre-show. It's an interesting nod to Scooter because in the original Muppet Vision show, he was actually supposed to have a heavier role in that film. And that was changed out, I think, more to, I don't know if it was played out more to a Bunny or more to Kermit, but his role was reduced in the ultimate version of that film. In this experience, his uncle, J.P. Gross, wants to diversify his real estate portfolio and has bought the record label. As they said, you could say that he puts the G, J.P. Gross puts the G in G-Force Records. But at any rate, Scooter's responsibility is to get you to the concert. And so you'll exit the studio and you'll head into the limos to head on out to the concert. The band is going to vocally harmonize various tunes during the ride, which gives you a sense that maybe there might be more than one song played when you go on the attraction. You're going to go through Hollywood, and that's going to be kind of beefed up a little bit from what I understand. I would expect on the outside, the exterior, remember how there's a car as you go into the entrance of this that's standing above you upside down? I assume that's going to be themed, perhaps to add the keyboard that you see in the film poster. So I think that's going to be a part of it. At least that's what the poster seems to suggest. There's no discussion of when it opens or when Aerosmith closes out. It's a good guess to say probably after the holidays because I think they were keeping date announcements too between now and Christmas. But I would expect that probably as we go into January, that's going to close. I wouldn't think it would take more than 6 months to redo it. They had just redone a lot of portions to the track and to the ride system itself not too long ago, so I don't think that needs to be redone like Big Thunder. Hopefully, we'll see by fall, no later than fall, hopefully, that appearing. And frankly, with Muppets, animation, and the Millennium Falcon redo, not to mention the new shows that premiered this year, the Villains Show and the Little Mermaid Show, the studios will have a great plussed up offering by this time next year. that does leave questions for other parks, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Going over to Magic Kingdom, over the weekend, Beak and Barrel opened up to many of the social media influencers who attended this event. And Jack, however, was not welcome there. Apparently, he has not squared away his tab. And so I think that's going to be an ongoing line to suggest that Jack will not be visiting you, which is an interesting thing, because if you want to see Jack, go over to Tortuga Tavern and just take a break sometime mid-afternoon, and Jack usually comes wandering through that space over there, even though it's not actively running as a restaurant. There are several spaces, as we've kind of seen this thing finally open up and see what it looks like. I have photos on DisneyInsights.com. There's several spaces, the first of them being, as you enter in, what's referred to as the mess. It's so named because it was once a mess hall for Spanish soldiers before it was claimed by a cunning crew of pirates. And so you have a lot of big tables out there like a mess hall would be. And then behind all of this is the Cursed Bar. And this is a skull-shaped bar. You can see it in the photo. It looks like a skull. And it's anchored to that side of the mess. And it's here where we find Rummy, which is this new little parrot. And he steps out from behind the skull-shaped bar to offer stories and jokes and songs and so forth from his main roost up there. And so he invites everybody to sing along, yo-ho, yo-ho, and so forth. And it's really cute and clever. The captain's quarters is another portion. It's a higher quality of tavern, perhaps more than a lounge than a tavern. Once the private residence of the Spanish Comandante, it offers artwork and rich drapery, along with a very elegant fireplace. And along that fireplace lie small vessels inside bottles that seem to come alive on their own. So keep an eye on the fireplace and what's going on there. With that, there are lined up around this section captain's booths, and these are intricately carved wooden panels with different characters engraved in the wood that are found throughout this area. And then the final section is the map maker's room. This is a setting where you find maps all over this section. It seems to be a more intimate corner of this whole part of Beak and Barrel. And but it happens to be that there are a number of treasured secrets that come alive or are made known that were held once by a crazed pirate cartographer. So that too. So really, there's almost three main rooms you want to check out and experience and study and find out the details. It really sounds like they have paid a lot of attention to details with this. We're going to have our own review of Beak and Barrel in the weeks to come. And I think the way they have designed this, they have really made it so you want to come back again and again. Finally, one other little detail that was shared in this overall presentation was a word about Cool Kids Summer. They noted that it's going to be repeated next year. I find that curious because while I thought that the presentation of the Cool Kids Summer, particularly over at Communicore in Epcot, was really well done, I've not heard anybody share the thought that there was a real strong attendance going on or that there was really a lot of people showing up there. And heaven knows it's one of those important air-conditioned spaces in the front of the park. And yet, I just didn't see it. I saw a well-themed area. You should go check it out if you haven't. But the challenge is with what's happening to Epcot next year is that really nothing other than this Cool Kids Summer thing returning has been spelled out. And a Cool Kid Summer is not Epcot's solution for moving forward. It needs more announcements, but maybe some of those announcements might be coming in D23, which is happening the final weekend in August. Now, what surprised everybody a couple of weeks ago when the agenda came out for this event was that there was no formal Parks and Resorts panel for the entire D23 Expo being held at Coronado Springs. But there is a thought that, and this might be a really smart thought on their part if they're doing it. I don't know for sure that they're doing it. But honestly, a lot of people, they come to the Parks and Resorts panel and then they don't come to anything else, and the whole thing becomes somewhat sparse. It may be in an effort to get you excited to go to all the panels. They have sprinkled surprise announcements within this agenda. If they haven't, then people who have paid for D23 are really going to be disappointed by the experience. But let's look at this agenda and consider what could possibly be announced during this time. The first is one of the first events is the Walt Disney Studios Showcase. This is usually where they show upcoming film, television, Disney Plus series, and so forth coming out. But this could also bring in several opportunities to talk about cinematic ties to the park. This section is going from 9:15 to 10:30. So this is an hour and 15-minute look. And there could be time, for instance, Avengers could be talked about, and they're tied to both attractions at Disney California Adventure might be tied. Coco 2 has a faraway announcement of 2029 that was given just a couple of months ago. But again, they could be talking about its possible tie to DCA. The Lion King attraction coming to Paris might be addressed here, as well as in a later France event that they have during the show. And they could talk more about the magic of Disney animation as they talk about Disney animation in general. Although, again, some elements of that were already addressed last week. They have two sections of 3 caballeros from El Gringo to Goodwill Classics. 2 events in the program. Each are only 10 minutes in length. It's a really short thing, and it's kind of one's on Saturday and one's on Sunday. I would just say, if you really wanted to blow everybody away, Imagineering, make an announcement about Brazil finally coming to World Showcase. Now, mind you, I thought that could have been announced at D23 in Brazil last year. Still, who knows? Who knows? It may be nothing comes, but that would be cool if they announced. The same thing is they've got this Disney Around the Globe India moment, and they have a Disney Around the Globe France as well, and each of them are very short, 5 minutes for the entire presentation. Kind of weird that you highlight a 5-minute thing. I don't see a park being announced here, but like Brazil, it's been one of the most likely possibilities for a World Showcase pavilion for many years. And it wouldn't be a bad thing if they announced a new pavilion at World Showcase. That would be huge. Creating the happiest place on earth. This is, I think, 30 minutes in length, as I recall. No, I apologize. It is an hour and a half in length from 2:30 to 3. No, I'm sorry. Go back. It's 2 to 2:30. Creating the happiest place on earth, 30 minutes. Probably tied to the new book of similar title. Could again be a vehicle for discussing upcoming Disneyland projects. That would make sense. What's Cooking with Disney Eats? Fairly big 45-minute discussion there. That's more time for Disney Eats than on Disneyland. That's interesting. Could new restaurant offerings be discussed? There's a couple out there that could possibly be named. Something that could go on over at in Star Wars, where next to the lounge there, There is space for a restaurant that was originally designed, and that attention ended up going off to the Star Wars Hotel cruise liner experience. Could there be an announcement of something like that here? Lakeshore Lodge is well underway, but they've not offered any kind of discussion of the title or anything about it. Tiana was originally the name of a restaurant that was going to be there at that Lakeside Lodge. Again, Lakeshore Lodge. I don't even know that that's the name of the hotel anymore, the DVC property, but there's going to need to be something out there. Several things out there if you're going to have that big of DVC space. So there are things that could be talked about. Again, Disney Around the Globe France, 5 minutes. Again, short like India, but it could include some quick update on their parks because there is lots going on with Frozen opening this last year and some other things. Part of our world, 40 minutes, could be anything park related, covering to any part of the globe. Could be something like Cars Road Rally coming to Frontierland. Also possibilities, Spaceship Earth, maybe Figment, where things things that Epcot really needs could be coming. Beyond the Spires, an insider look at Disney castles. This is an interesting opportunity. Could they be talking a little bit more about what they have in mind for the castle at Abu Dhabi, which is more of a crystal globe than it is a castle? So what might that look like? So more to come on that. And then a final pavilion or event, Disney Icons, Villains of Evil, 45 minutes. Clearly a window to talk about the upcoming Villains Land. If nothing was discussed, I would be really surprised that they didn't give hints of something coming to Villains Land at Magic Kingdom. So I think there's going to be more of a sprinkling of things. We'll have to wait and see what comes. You should note that if you are a D23 Gold member and you're unable to attend the Destination D23, you're going to have an opportunity to catch many of the panels, presentations, and more through a live stream. And you can access that on the D23 website. Again, that's on my DisneyInsights.com page. Currently, that link's taking you to the D23 Gold Theater countdown for the event. You might want to just join and check out, at least see if they, the Villains thing comes much later. Oh, it comes the morning of Sunday. As does Beyond the Spires. I'll be just interested to see what comes, if anything. If you're a D23 member, definitely check it out. It may just be worth your time. At any rate, lots happening at Walt Disney World and beyond. And hopefully this podcast made you realize you need help and support in planning your next trip to Disney. David and Leah with Zenola Travel know Disney in ways few do, and they can make your next trip on land or sea an exciting one. Just met with them over the weekend. They really know how to take out the stress in these trips. Be sure to contact them as you explore your next vacation, whether it's a Disney theme park vacation, a cruise, or an adventure by Disney. There's no charge to utilize their services, but it will save you enormous time getting all the details right. And with their insight, you can be assured you're going to experience the best trip possible. So whether it's a cruise, a visit to the parks, or someplace else, contact them today at zenolatravel.com. Also, if you are looking for more books from Disney Insights, we featured in our podcast last week how leaders create fun at work at Disney. That was a part of Disney Leadership in You, and that book, along with The Wonderful World of Customer Service at Disney, A Century of Powerful Disney Insights, 100, The Walt and Roy Disney Years. These books are available on Amazon. Do check them out. Links in the show notes and on Disney.com, as well as my professional book, Lead with Your Customer, done with my former Disney partner, Mark David Jones. My current business partner, though, but former Disney partner, Mark David Jones. We talk about best in business practices in organizations beyond Disney as well. So if you are looking for excellence in your organization, these books are a great starting point. But this podcast and this post is sponsored by myself and Performance Journeys, and we bring more than 20 years as a training and development group, bringing you best in business practices through books, keynotes, workshops, seminars, online tools, and everything. So if you're looking for a keynote speaker, if you're looking for consulting, if you're looking for support, hey, just give me a call. Just reach out to me at performancejourneys.com and let's chat about your needs. Finally, thanks for joining us for this podcast. Know that is in the title of Performance Journeys. It's as much about the journey as it is about performance. So find the second star to the right and keep going straight on till you reach it. Follow the compass of your heart and know that with a smile and a song, a little faith, effort, and pixie dust, your dreams can come true. After all, if we can dream it, we can do it. Until next time, bright suns, we'll see you real soon.